This is Mark Evans from Heaven's Edge, and I'm going to get it right this time. You are listening to the Brutally Delicious podcast. Keep rocking, people.
1, 2, 3, 4. The Brutally Delicious podcast. The Brutally Delicious podcast. The Brutally Delicious podcast. The Brutally Delicious podcast.
That's okay.
So let's start over here. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I guess we can jump right in and let's talk about, you guys played Monsters of Rock, correct?
The Monsters of Rock cruise, not this past year. We are playing it next year.
Okay. What was that?
A few times in the past.
You have. What's that experience been like?
Just picture pretty much every band that you used to like back in like 1988, 89.
Right.
And most of them are there. And you just wander around a ship and turn a corner and, Night Ranger's playing an acoustic set somewhere, and upstairs by the pool, and Extreme is out on the pool stage, and you go into one of the little clubs or bars that are there, and you've got
sort of like a time warp.
Oh yeah. And it's just the first time that we did it, I can't remember what year it was, probably like 2014 or 15. And my wife and I are trying to figure out, okay, what do we bring? We've never been on a cruise before. We're bringing what we think is like all cruise wear, and you get on there and just go, oh shit, I only needed a jeans and a t-shirt.
Right. So I've never done the Monsters of Rock one. I've been doing the 70,000 tons of metal for, I don't know, 10 years since its inception, however long it is now, 10 or 11 years. A little bit heavier, but I've been part of that forever. And it's the same sort of thing. I remember going on the first one and you had no idea what to expect, and bringing dress clothes and all that other stuff. Yeah. So 25 years in between records. What was the impetus to get it back going again?
Well, it's strange because it's 25 years between records, but the second record that came out some other place, some other time, we weren't even a band when that came out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, we had split up. I left the band, I guess, in 92, maybe. So I got to the point I knew it wasn't going to work. And I needed to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so that album came out then, but like I said, we weren't even a band. And back, I guess it was in 2012, a promoter from Ireland named Kieran Dargan had contacted me about having Heaven's Edge get back together again and play at Firefest in Nottingham, England, the following year. Told him the same thing. I said, we're not a band. I don't know what you want me to do.
Right.
Like, please, just talk to the guys. Talk to the guys. So I talked to the guys. We got together and rehearsed because we hadn't played a set in 20 years or more. We had done a couple of like benefits pretty much in all those years since we split up. We got together and the chemistry was there. It was fun. And so we decided to do Firefest, and we were like, oh, for rehearsing, we're playing, we should do a show locally. So we came back home a few weeks after Firefest and we played in Philly. That sold out. That went great. And then we started getting the invitations to M3 and to the Monsters of Rock cruise and some other gigs. So, it's nothing full time for us. We still have our jobs and our lives, but a few times a year, we get to go out and do some really cool shit, actually.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, playing cruises, how can you beat that, right?
Yeah. Nope.
What is the writing process nowadays? Is it still sort of the way it was back in the day, or how does that work?
I have to say not even close. Because back in the day, we were doing this as a job. Even though we did have day jobs.
Right.
We were younger and had more energy, but this is what we were trying to do as a career. So we got together multiple nights a week to rehearse. Reggie and I would get together at least one night a week to write. And then whatever we were writing back then, I mean, now I've got my computer with keyboard, like, you know,
Right.
all this craziness in a computer. Back then we had these little 4-track, I think they were Toshiba or Tascam. It was a 4-track cassette machine.
Yeah, I had a
You would take
Fostex, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, there were 2 tracks on one side and 2 tracks on the other. You'd flip it over. And we would bounce things back and forth. And then I would take the idea home with me and I'd play it in the car while I was going to work, and I'd write the lyrics and the melodies and sing it into a little recorder.
Right.
And then come home and record the vocals on the little 4-track cassette, and then go back to Reggie's and go, here, what do you think? And then we'd start a new one. Now it's a lot of it's through email or sometimes on like a Zoom call. It's not definitely not the same. And back then we did it all the time.
Right.
We do it now, like this album that just came out with Get It Right. A few of the songs are a little bit older. I mean, not real old. I think the oldest one on there was maybe 12 years old, something like that. But a good bit of the record was written, I'd say, within the last 9 months before we started recording it. But it's somebody out there that writes songs or writes like that. It's kind of a muscle you've got to get going.
Right.
So it was taking us a while to get. We had personal stuff that was going on with us, and slowed things up a little bit. But once it got going, you know, Reggie and I were like, "Oh well, we can still do this."
So I imagine writing is so different than when there's no pressure, though, right?
Oh yeah, the pressure with this was just the schedule of it,
Right. There's no record company. Right.
Yeah, they want the record, and the release of this record had already been delayed. I had fallen pretty ill a couple of years ago, and I was out of commission for a few months, and that kind of backed things up because I couldn't write, I couldn't do anything. So once I got back on track and got my health back, which took a while, we were able to kind of get things rolling again. But when it's not something that you do every single day, every single week,
right?
It just takes a little bit to get it going. Plus, I'm now 61, Reggie's 60, trying to write lyrics that still sound rock and roll, but aren't embarrassing for a 60-year-old to sing or 61-year-old to sing.
Right.
You know, I'm not writing things about firing a rocket and
right. And also, I mean, I guess you have to sort of take in mind, or maybe you don't, but there's a whole different culture now too, right? I don't think you could write some of those songs from the 80s now and get away with it.
No, you'd probably, some of the stuff you'd probably get cold on. I don't think we had anything on the first record that would have been gotten flagged that way, but there was definitely some music from back in the day that could have gotten flagged for being politically incorrect.
Yeah, I mean, I just had Kiss on just recently, Alive 2, and I'm listening to Christine 16 and thinking, wow, they can't possibly play that now. That would be flagged in a minute.
Oh, I know. I've done a lot of shows, both acoustic and with the band with Wenger. And Kip's funny because he has to start off 17 every time, just going, okay, if I could just change the words to, she's only 34 and not sing 17 at my age, which is pretty embarrassing.
That's funny you mentioned that, because I've often thought about, I haven't seen them live, since back in the day, but I've always wondered, you can't take that out of the catalog or the live show.
No.
People want to hear it, but
he just kind of gives a little caveat ahead of time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a different world we live in. Are you planning on taking this out on the road at all with you guys in, regular jobs and doing that thing? Or is this sort of a weekend warrior thing maybe?
This will definitely be more of the weekend warrior thing. Because it would be too hard for all of us to coordinate anything. I mean, the Monsters of Rock cruise is probably the longest thing that we take off for a week for that. But other than that, it would be just too difficult logistically to get all of this together. So, we'll do the weekend warrior, the one-off things here and there. Like I said, it was just announced we will be on the Monsters of Rock cruise next year. In 2024, we've got a show in Frenchtown, New Jersey coming up the end of August. We're going to be in Germany actually in the beginning of September.
Oh, nice.
Yep. And then we're doing the New England Festival in I think it's early October, October 7th, something like that. Us and Firehouse and might have been Vixen, I forget, but a really good lineup for that. And
Right.
we've got a bunch of other stuff we're working on, including a local date across the bridge in Philly sometime in the fall.
What does a Heaven's Edge crowd look like these days? Because I imagine it's multi-generational, right? Like people like myself bringing their kids, maybe even grandkids at this point.
Yeah, it actually is very multi-generational, and it's funny if you've seen the video that we had put out for the song "What Could Have Been." We filmed that live at the Brooklyn Bowl in Philadelphia earlier this year, and it's funny because you see the people that are out there that are our age, people that are a generation younger than us, and then you also see there's two young boys that
Right.
probably like, I don't know, 10, 12 years old, something like that. I don't want to insult them, make it seem like they're too young. But these two young kids just rocking out right up front at the barricade.
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome to see.
I know I go to shows now and I'm like, wow, this is so amazing. It just gets passed down, generation to generation, and you take your kids and from there.
Yeah, I mean, and there's also a lot of whatever you call them, the Gen Xers or whatever that come out, or Gen Z, I don't even,
Right.
whatever the younger people coming
Right.
out. Along with even our new bass player. He's a perfect example of it. Our new bass player, we brought him in after Gigi had passed.
Right.
And Jaron was just this great guy, super talented. We figured, give us a little bit of young energy, but he said, I think Jaron is 33 or 34 years old now. I met him 10 years ago or more, and he knew who the hell I was. He's like, oh no, I'm a big fan. I'm like, you're old enough to be my kid.
Right.
His parents had him listening to that kind of music. And, now Jaron, because he was raised listening to that kind of music and being into it, is now in Heaven's Edge, and he's also in Lynch Mob.
Nice. You mentioned it, and it was sort of on my list, but was it difficult to or was it difficult to carry on after Gigi's passing?
Yes. Oh, yes and no. Let me put it this way. It was very difficult after all these years of sharing the stage with George and sharing everything that we went through over all these years, the good and the bad. And
Right, you were in the trenches.
Yeah. So there's definitely a brotherhood that happens when you go through all that. And so we knew when George passed that we still had Monsters of Rock cruise that was scheduled to come up.
Right.
And so we had a decision to make. Do we want to just, end this, or do we want to carry on George's legacy and our legacy and go out there and try and keep this music going? And the more we thought about it and talked about it, we thought that's exactly what George would want us to do. He would not want this to stop. And wherever up there he is looking down on us, I hope and I believe that he is smiling. The thoughts of George go into everything we're doing, the going out and performing live, or when we were in recording the album.
Okay.
He'll always be a part of the band.
Yeah, sure. Was it difficult to find a replacement, or did that come fairly easy?
Because I had already known Jaron, once we decided to go in a little bit of a younger direction, it made it easy. He came in. I literally, he's also in a band Tantric, or was.
Oh yeah.
One second. I'll just let him come in. My dog is bugging to come in the room.
Oh, that's fine. I'm shocked mine's not barking at the moment. So
come on in, Vinny. All right. You have a seat there, buddy. Now you're gonna bug to go back out, aren't you?
What kind of dog?
He is a Cimarron.
Okay.
A big dog.
Yeah, I've got a Great Dane in the other room.
Oh, okay. Another big dog. Mine's not that big, but he's probably about 90 pounds.
Oh, okay.
But he's an old guy. He's a senior.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So we were saying it was not too difficult to find a replacement then.
No, because I'm a bass player myself. That's what I've started playing bass. That's how I got into music, and that's what I did until I still play bass in other bands, but until when Heaven's Edge started, we decided I shouldn't be playing bass.
Right.
But I know a bunch of other bass players from the area, and yeah, a few things to consider. First off, I'm friends with a lot of these guys, and if I ask one guy, the other guy's going to go, "Why not me?"
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that, but yeah.
And then on top of that, with Jaron, he's a young guy, but he's got an old soul. He's got the same kind of work ethic that we had back in the day.
Right.
And in fact, like I said, he was in Tantric. I still plays with him here and there to fill in. But I sent the guys in the band, I sent like about a 30-second clip of him on stage live with Tantric, and they were like,
Right.
"Looks great. When can we rehearse?" I contacted Jaron. He was just like, when I first asked him about it, he was like,
Right.
I'm being punked, right? And so he was into it, and he came down and rehearsed. And after the first rehearsal, I just remember Dave looking over and looking at me and just going, "Hit a home run with this one," because he just fit very easy.
Nice. So when you guys were writing for this record, were you able to? You're close to each other. Were you able to get in like the same room and write the songs? Or?
With some of them, like I said, because of technology, we were also able to a Zoom call, or if I've got a guitar riff or something like that, I record it on the iPhone,
Right,
and text it over to Reggie, and see if that sparks an idea with him, or he'll do the same thing with me. A lot of it, we are taking advantage of the technology, though. A few of the songs we did get together, and I wish we could get together more, but we work a lot. Reggie, we both work different hours. I'm very early in the morning. He works into the night.
right.
So we fit it in when we can. I wish we could get together more, because every time we do get together, it clicks right away and we come up with something.
Right. And the music business has changed so much lately. It's nice to see you guys, releasing a full record and doing that whole thing like we're used to growing up, as opposed to the kids these days with the 30-second attention span.
Yeah, the TikTok videos and the one song at a time.
One song at a time is what I was referring to. Yeah. And then listening to maybe 30 seconds of that one song because they got to move on.
Right. And it's strange for us, because I mean, just to put it into perspective, the last album that we put out, that we really put out, I mean, that we recorded from scratch and did the whole thing all one shot. Cell phones had just been started becoming something that the public had, and they were
right, but it was probably still the flip phone kind of thing, right?
Oh, back then they were the bag phones.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, the phone was like this big. You're holding this big, and the internet didn't exist. So no YouTube, no Spotify, no Apple Music.
Right. But you had to learn about it's a two-edged sword, right? Because you had to learn about your bands and your favorite music from Kerrang! Magazine or something like that, as opposed to, you could just look up online now and you can find out about everything. So I guess it's a two-edged sword.
I think that the youth nowadays is missing out on something that we all got to enjoy.
Oh yes.
Buying the record, looking at it, reading the credits, reading the lyrics, looking at the pictures.
Yes.
Doing all that stuff. Plus also buying Kerrang! And Circus and Cream and Hit Parader.
I loved Kerrang!
Through all them and just, taking out the good pictures, hanging them on the bedroom wall.
Yes.
And, oh yeah.
Kerrang! Was my thing. I lived in Long Island, and we used to go to this place. You may even heard of it, Slip Disc Records.
Yes.
It was in Valley Stream. I mean, I could literally walk there. We used to walk there on Tuesdays to get our favorite releases or whatever, save your paper out money and go over there. And then it was a whole process, like you said. Go home, listen to the whole thing, the way it was sequenced, read everything. Mm-hmm. It was a process.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, very interesting. And it's interesting how things have changed and, the way people consume. But you have to wear a bunch of hats these days, right? Because if you want to stay relevant, you have to be part of that.
Oh yeah. We're fortunate. Our drummer is in the record business, so he does have an understanding of it. And then, like I said, we've got Jaron. He's younger, so he understands.
Right. He's probably really hip on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you guys have next then? I know you said you're doing some weekend stuff. More singles? Is that the game plan?
We've got a couple of songs that are probably going to come out later in the year that were not on the record.
Oh, nice.
We're trying to keep up with what the business is now, and
Yeah.
Try in between the records, you have to throw some little, things out there to try and keep the interest going.
Right.
But we've got some stuff that should hopefully come out later this year before the next record. Reggie and I are in the process of getting things going with writing for the next record. There's just a lot leading up to getting this one out. So now
So there is going to be a follow-up?
Yes, they actually signed us to a 3-record deal.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So
Nice.
hopefully there will be 2 more.
That's beautiful. So are you one of those bands that is always writing?
Not always. Well, Reggie and I continued writing over the years, but just not at the pace we were. When
Right.
it came time for this record here and that we needed the songs, and we had to get back to writing really seriously writing all the time. Before then, we were just writing for the fun of it. If I had an idea in my head or Reggie had an idea, it didn't even matter if it sounded like Heaven's Edge. Just, here, I got this idea.
So how many of those songs that were on this record were conceived that way?
Actually, well, it was conceived that way that it was just we weren't writing for Heaven's Edge. The song What Could Have Been
Gotcha.
was one of them. We were asked, like I said, probably 12, maybe 13 years ago, by someone in Europe. I remember somebody had sent us an email or something, or contacted somebody that we knew that contacted us.
Right.
That they wanted us to submit a new song for a compilation record that was going to come out in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And of bands like us, like lesser known, those bands that kind of almost made it but didn't.
Right.
They wanted to feature the singers from those bands. So it was going to be myself and then other singers. I don't even remember who they were.
Right.
And so Reggie and I got together and we wrote What Could Have Been. And we finished writing the song, finished recording it, and went, no, we've got to save this for something else. We'll send them something else. This song's too good. We like.
They hung on to it.
And then we actually had that song for a number of years. And when it came time to choose the songs for this record, we knew we really wanted that song on the record, but it was just missing something. And so that, along with a few, 3 of the other songs on the record, we had to a guy by the name of Jacob Bunton,
Mm-hmm.
who's a really talented songwriter and producer. And we sent it out to him just to see, like, here, do you hear anything? Like, to tweak something or change something. Right. And a few days later, he re-recorded the song completely. But he re-recorded it so that he could add his parts to it.
Right.
But he changed one of the lines in a chorus, and he added a bridge and changed a little bit of the instrumentation, but just took the song. We were like, this song's really good. It's just missing something. And he knew exactly what it was missing. He said,
that's what's on the record.
I was like, holy shit. That was it.
Right. That's what made the record then. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. We were kidding around that we found our Mutt Lang, our silent 6th member. The silent,
Nice.
the secret weapon.
That runs me to the end of my questions. Did I miss anything you want to cover? If fans want to find you, Heaven's Edge.
Yes, heavensedge.com. We were on Facebook, we were on Instagram, we were on Twitter. Keep in touch with us. We do answer if you happen to send us a question on Messenger. We do answer, maybe not the same day,
right?
But we do get back to people, and give them the answers that we can. The best we can. I have somebody right now that wants me to send them something, and I'm like, I don't have them laying around to just send to you.
Right.
They seem a little upset, but we're trying our best to keep everybody happy. But just want to tell all the fans that are out there that have been with us for all these years, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for remembering us and for supporting us for all this time. And we are absolutely loving your excitement for this record because we're excited about it. We were nervous with it coming out, just going, oh, please, I hope people, listen and go, yes, you got it right. And most people think we got it right. The few that don't, but you're not going to make everybody happy.
Yeah, there's always going to be naysayers, right? That's just part of the game. I appreciate what you guys do. I'm glad you're still doing it. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you very
Good
much.
luck with the record. Hopefully we'll catch you around here sometime.
Where you out of now?
Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond, Virginia?
Yeah.
Hopefully. If not, maybe next time we're down at M3, it's not that far for you.
Yeah, no, I know you were talking about Firehouse. Bill's been on the show a couple times. He's actually been over and done some things with me over here, so he's not far from me at all.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, great.
Yeah, super guy. All right, man.
We're playing with him again in October. Can't wait.
Yep. Be well. Take care.
Good. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.